friends, cool cats and kittens, baby kids, whatever you want to call yourself. We are back. Let's jump right into our video. The last video I started off with the objective and going into the agenda, etc. And then I paused it because I realized the review was taking a while, and I wanted you guys to just have that to review separately if you wanted to look at it on Monday with your math. And then on Tuesday, you can start this video to really jump into the new lesson. Definitely look at that review though. It's going through all the different steps of races to help you guys and remind you guys what it means to organize your writing. All right, so today, objective, I will read two texts, Sustainable Fishing and Jane Goodall, in order to answer this text-focused question. How can humans be helpful to animal habitats? I will do this by close reading the text and pulling out explicit evidence from the text and adding it to my note catcher. Okay, so we shouted out a lot of people in the last video. You see the shout outs there. Shout y'all out. You're looking good. We reviewed last week's lesson, and now we will jump to the background video for two types of commonly used fishing techniques. In the text today, Sustainable Fishing, you will see some fishing techniques that people use around the world in order to catch fish. I'm showing you these videos because sometimes reading text might not give you all the information that you could gather as a reader if you were to be able to just see via video what that could look like. So I am going to show you all this first video, and this is about, we'll start with purse seining fishing method. All right, so this is the first method of fishing, okay, purse seining. You will see this term pop up in the text, so let's take a listen.
Live. Purse seine fishing is so effective because the fishing gear nets off a large area of water. A massive net up to 2 kilometers long is used to encircle a school of fish. Once set, the bottom of the net, which can be as deep as 200 meters, is pulled close. The fish are now captured in a vast pen, which can be drawn tighter and tighter until the catch is so concentrated that it can simply be scooped up and dropped into the ship. According to the UN FAO, almost 2/3 of the fish stocks are fully exploited. Another 28% are overexploited. The amount of fish in the oceans have been halved over the past 50 years, with some species such as tuna falling by 3/4. Capacity of the world's fishing fleet is 2.5 times larger than sustainability estimates. Operation Albacore has discovered that bycatch is heavily underreported. In the case of
So I'm going to pause right here. And in the video, the lady said bycatch. It's a term and a vocabulary word that you'll see in the text today. Bycatch is exactly what you see here. Normally, when they're putting down these purse seine fishing nets, right? So like she showed us, it's a huge net that its circumference is very big and it's in the middle of the ocean, and they put, some bait in there that kind of attracts fish to want to come inside and, get this food, but instead it's basically a trap. And they are taking up the net and bringing it up to this boat that you see here. But a big problem that you'll see in the text today is something called byproducts, right? Like these fish are sharks. That's probably not what they were looking for, right? A lot of sharks are going extinct, and they're not trying to collect and fish for sharks, but sometimes they happen to be in the same place, and they end up getting taken as well, which can also kill a lot of the sharks that we have. So that is purse seining fishing. And then we have the second kind, which is long line fishing. So this is another example of how to catch fish. Piano. All right, here we go. You see them throwing out the buoy and all these things. You can tell the difference already. Okay, there's one line going out with all the bait. They're hooking the bait onto the line and they're throwing it into the ocean in one straight line. Hence the name long line. fishing. That's the line. And they're hoping to catch a whole bunch of fish with this. Yeah, look at this. They caught some fish. Those are some big fish, some big guys. All those fish that they caught. All right, so as you can see, it's a lot of fish that they're catching on that one line. So that is the difference between long line fishing and purse seining fishing. And in today's text, as we are about to jump into, you will see both of those techniques used. So you kind of have some background information. All right, so let's jump into the text. All right, the first text that we have is sustainable fishing. Okay, all the text features and the reading techniques that I've told you about, I want you guys to continuously do this as we are reading. All right, so sustainable fishing. Here's the title. I'm circling or highlighting the title because I know titles give me a lot of information about the text. Sustainable fishing. Ms. Jones tells me that when I see a title, I need to ask myself a question. What could this text possibly be about? The word sustain means being able to keep something up, maybe being able to make sure there's enough of something. So I need to think about that. Sustainable fishing. How can there be enough fish, or how can fishing be sustainable? How can it keep up? How can people keep up with fishing? Something about that is going to be in this text. I know that just because of the title. All right, sustainable fishing. Sustainable fishing guarantees there will be populations of ocean and freshwater wildlife in the future. People have fished for thousands of years, yet, unless big changes are made, they may not fish much longer. Many kinds of fish are in danger of disappearing. New ways of fishing are shrinking fish populations. Fishers take billions of pounds of fish from the sea each year. Scientists say many kinds of fish will soon be wiped out. Once they're gone, they will never come back. There's a way to stop this from happening. Fishers need to start using sustainable fishing practices. Here goes my title right here. I had said we got to figure out how to sustain. We got to figure out how to sustain fish. How can we, as people who like to eat fish, fishers, as people who do this for their job, how can we have practices that help fish stay alive? Sustainable fishing is a way of fishing responsibly. It kills fewer fish. It also gives fish populations a chance to grow back. The world's fish are in serious danger. Look at the bluefin tuna, for example. Many people like how it tastes. Because of that, it has been very heavily fished. Today, there are many fewer bluefish tuna than there were in 1970. Fishers catch bluefin tuna in two harmful ways. One is purse seining. The other is long lining. Purse seine fishing uses a large net. First, the net is used to herd fish together. Then it closes around them. The net scoops up many fish at a time. Long lining uses a very long fishing line that is dragged by a boat. The lines can be up to 100 kilometers, 62 miles long. 62 miles long? That's further than the school to some places in Virginia. They have thousands of hooks. Bits of food on the hooks attract fish. Purse seining and long lining catch thousands of fish at a time. They also catch many fish that fishers were not trying to catch. Such fish are called bycatch. I think I said byproduct when we were watching the video, but it's bycatch. Such fish are called bycatch. Birds and sea turtles can also be trapped by accident. That's pretty sad. All right, I see a subheading, sustainable fishing practices. I know with my subheadings, I'm supposed to circle them, highlight them. They have to be important. Then I have to ask myself a question. What is this section going to be about? Sustainable fishing practices. Something that people have to practice or do is going to then hopefully make fishing or fish more sustainable. Make sure that they can last. All right. It is possible to fish. It is possible to fish sustainably. In some parts of the world, I don't know why that's a question mark. But it's not supposed to be. It is possible to fish sustainably. In some parts of the world, people have been doing it for thousands of years. Today, we can learn much from these old ways of fishing. The Tagbanua people of the Philippines are one example. They have been fishing sustainably for many years. The Tagbanuas fish for particular kinds of the Tagbanuas fish for particular kinds of fish only during certain times of the year. The rest of the year, the fish are left alone. That gives their population time to grow larger again. The Tagbanuas also set aside certain areas as protected spots. Fishing is never allowed in these areas. When they do fish, the Tagbanuas catch only a small number of fish. They only take what they need to feed themselves and their communities. They mostly use hook and line fishing. Okay, that's another new technique that has been introduced. As I'm reading, I knew that Miss Jones said that we have a text-focused question. And I need to always keep that in the back of my head. Yes, the title, I asked myself a question about it, but what's the question that I'm really reading for today? What am I thinking about? What should I be thinking about? Okay. The question is, how can humans be helpful to animal habitats? Okay. How can humans be helpful to animal habitats? Okay. How can humans be helpful to animal habitats? I already am starting to see something in this first paragraph in the section Sustainable Fishing Practices. Take a second and pause this video and write down, highlight, circle, underline a couple ways that you already see humans being helpful, the ways that humans can be helpful to animal habitats. Take a second, pause this video, and I want you to underline or highlight what you see. If you don't have the video, if you don't have the text, if you didn't click on the link that I have in the bottom of this video and have the text in front of you in order to highlight, or if you don't have the paper in front of you, just pause the video and I want you to write down on your paper the ways that you see humans can be helpful. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you guys have some answers as to how humans can be helpful. I already see one of the ways that humans can be helpful, right? And I chose the part that said down here. There's several different ones, but I chose this particular one right here. The Tagbanuas also set aside certain areas as protected spots. Fishing is never allowed in these areas. So if I'm thinking about this question, how can humans be helpful? Well, there's an example right here. It says the Tagbanuas, they keep aside certain areas in certain oceans or certain lakes, wherever the fish is, that fishing is never allowed. That obviously is helping the animals, right? Because that way no one can go there and purse-seine fish, long line fish, they can't fish at all, right? So it protects the actual fish and they don't have to end up dying when they don't need to. Right. So hopefully you guys had identified some more. We'll use some of these in our note catching at the end. Okay. So keep that in mind. Let's keep reading. If you've ever fished, you probably used a rod and reel. Like when you've probably seen some videos where they throw it out there, and then they reel it in. Yep, that's what they're talking about. If you have ever fished, you've probably used a rod and reel. Rod and reel fishing is a newer form of hook and line fishing. It is much more sustainable than long lining. Only one fish is caught at a time instead of thousands. There is also much less bycatch. There's no way that if I threw a rod and reel fishing hook out there that I'm about to catch a shark. Nope, no way. If anything, the shark will probably pull me into the water. If you hook something that you weren't planning to catch, you can put it back in the water right away, right? Another way we can all help is by no longer eating fish. Ocean scientist Sylvia Earle has stopped eating fish. She believes we need to take a break from eating seafood. Fish populations need a chance to grow larger again, she says. Okay. I personally have stopped eating seafood, Earl says. I know too much. I know that every fish counts. Fish are very important to the health of our oceans, Earl says. In turn, the oceans make the planet work. Of course, many of us want to keep eating fish. If we do, we should choose seafood that was fished sustainably. Fish and our ocean are just too important not to care. I agree with her. Our ocean is super important. I do love fish though. So figuring out how to make sure that we can fish sustainably with these different ideas that even the Tagbanua village has shown us are definitely ways that we can utilize to make sure they're safe. So that's the first text, right? In your note catcher, you're going to see a place that asks you to jot down evidence from sustainable fishing. This is the first text, right? How can humans be helpful to animal habitats? This is where you would write down the different ways that you have identified humans can be helpful to animal habitats. Okay, so a lot of you, when we paused the video at first, you found a lot of ways, right? You probably found a lot in that first paragraph that we were both reading together. I found one and I pulled it out for you. This is where you would write that. And I'll go back to this to show you guys how you should think about jotting it down. So the one that I picked was this one. The Tagbanua also set aside certain areas as protected spots. Fishing is never allowed in these areas. I'm copying and I'm pasting that here. So at home, what I need from you, so the last video you guys were doing 4 squares, right? And you took a picture and sent it to me. For this video, I want you guys to get your piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and create this, right? Draw a line down the middle, draw 2 or 3 lines, I guess, going across. And then on this side of the paper, you need to have evidence from sustainable fishing. And on this side of the paper, you want to write evidence from Jane Goodall, right? And on this side of the paper, you're going to give me all the quotes that you found that proves how humans can be helpful. How humans can be helpful. That's the focus question we're focusing on today, right? So I want to know, what does the text say? How can humans be helpful, right? Today's not about a 4 square. Today's about pulling out explicit evidence from the text. I found one explicit evidence. If I want to get real fancy with it, I can say, according to the text. Then I'm practicing the things that I already know that I'm supposed to do when I'm quoting someone else's words, right? According to the text, the Tagbanuas also set aside certain areas as protected spots. Fishing is never allowed in these areas. Now I'm going to explain that. This quote is a good quote because it shows that if the Tagbanuas are putting aside certain places animals can't go or humans can't fish, they are being helpful to the animals. Okay, that's what I want to see on your papers when you're taking pictures and sending to me. I want to see the quote that you have and why you picked it. I have the quote according to the text, and then why did I pick? Why does this quote show me how humans can be helpful? Oh, this quote is a good quote to show how humans can be helpful. You could say it that way, because it shows that the Tagmanus are putting aside certain places humans can't fish. Right, so that's what I want to see all the way down here. Quote, why does that quote show how humans can be helpful? Quote, why does that quote show that humans can be helpful? And similarly from evidence from Jane Goodall, which we're about to read. So you can pause this video now and you can actually start finding all your evidence from sustainable fishing. That could be a good way to do it. Or you can continue to watch the video as we get into Jane Goodall. And then when we're done at the end, you can also do both or just the Jane Goodall. I personally would suggest pausing the video right now and finding the quotes and explanations, getting it out of the way, and then play the video, and then add in your evidence from Jane Goodall. Sounds good. All right. All right. So that is our first text. Now we're going to jump into the second text, which is the Jane Goodall text. Still the same text focused question. How can humans be helpful? Right? How can they be helpful to animal environments and habitats? All right. Jane Goodall. Title. Ask myself a question. Jane Goodall. It's a person. This text is going to be about some person named Jane Goodall. All right. Jane Goodall is a very famous primatologist. She is a scientist who studies a group of mammals called primates. Primates are a group of mammals that include humans, monkeys, gorillas, and chimpanzees. Jane Goodall has spent her whole life studying chimpanzees. She is focused on studying animal behavior in chimpanzees. Her discoveries have made her one of the best-known scientists in the world. Okay, already starting to see who she is. I asked myself the question with the title. I said Jane Goodall. It's probably going to be about somebody, a lady named Jane Goodall. I already know about her already. She is one of the best scientists in the world. All right. She specifically focuses on a group of mammals called primates. Goodall was born in 1934 in London, England. When she was a little girl, her father gave her a toy chimpanzee. It looked so real that people who visited her house were afraid of it, but she loved it. When Goodall was 23, she went to Africa. She began studying chimpanzees with a well-known scientist named Louis Leakey. After a year of working in Africa, Goodall went back to England and studied at the University of Cambridge. Can you guess what her favorite subject was? Chimpanzees! Here is a picture of Jane Goodall. That's another text feature. I remember Miss Jones telling me pictures give us good information about what we're reading. Now I can see what she looks like. Hey, Jane. Right. After finishing school, Goodall returned to Africa and spent the next 45 years studying chimpanzees in the wild. Her discoveries during those years completely changed the way people think about primates. Before Goodall's work, people thought chimpanzees were herbivores. She discovered that they eat meat too. All right, so that kind of gives me some context clues about what this word might mean if I didn't know. It says, before Goodall's work, people thought chimpanzees were herbivores. She discovered that they eat meat too. So an herbivore must be somebody or something that doesn't eat meat, because she discovered that chimpanzees eat meat too. And more importantly, Goodall discovered that chimps were quite intelligent. She observed them making and using tools. Before that, people thought humans were the only animals that made and used tools. When you hear the word tool, you may think of a hammer, saw, or shovel. Chimps don't use those kinds of tools. A tool is something used to make a job easier. Tools can be very simple. A rock becomes a tool if you pick it up and use it to crack open a walnut. Oh, look at the chimpanzee. All right, it's another text feature, another picture, which reads, Goodall studies chimpanzees, a type of mammal belonging to the primate group. He's so cute. Goodall observed chimps using blades of grass and sticks as tools. Chimps like to eat termites, a type of insect that's like an ant. Termites live in holes underground. To catch these tasty insects, Goodall observed a chimp sticking a blade of grass into a termite hole. The termites crawled onto the grass, and then the chimp took the grass out of the hole and ate all the termites. Before Goodall wrote about this behavior, people did not realize how clever chimps and other primates are. Smart. Goodall gave names to all the chimps in the group she was studying. She got to know them pretty well. Over time, she learned that the chimps were smart animals. She learned that chimps express many of the same feelings as people. They can feel happy, sad, and mad. Chimps can also be mean. Goodall saw them attack and eat small monkeys, now not out of hunger, but because they didn't want them around. That's not nice, Mr. Chimpanzee. All right, and here's another text feature. Chimpanzee uses plants' stems as tools. All right. Lastly, Goodall is more than a scientist. She's also an activist. An activist is someone who works hard to solve a problem and change something in the world. Goodall works as an animal rights activist to protect chimpanzees and their habitats. She tells other humans about damage to habitats such as hunting and pollution, and she works to stop these problems. She loves working with young people and teaching them how to protect animals. She has written many books and has been the subject of books and movies. She's won many awards for her work in protecting the chimpanzees. Alrighty, so that is the Jane Goodall text. All right, this text is not as explicit of saying how humans can help us or how humans can help protect animal habitats, but there is an underlining way that this text is showing us. I'm not going to give you guys this answer because I really do believe that you guys can find it thinking about that text focused question. All right, thinking really hard. How can humans be helpful? What did Jane Goodall show us that can prove how humans can be helpful? What does she do? What does she show us? When you find those out, I want you to do the same thing here. I want you to write according to the text. And then find the quote that you have from Jane Goodall and explain it, right? Explain why does that quote show how humans are being helpful, right? This is the first step of the lessons for the week. Filling out this note catcher, which is explicit evidence, to answer this text focused question. How can humans be helpful to animal habitats? All right, so I want you guys to do this on paper, write it out with the quotes, send a picture to me, and I will check you off as complete. All right, see you soon for our second video, which will be talking about openly responding to this question and using these answers. See you guys.